The first question is, what brought you to the Violoncello da Spalla? How did you meet it, and what enlightened your flame for it?
But at this time, I was studying with Sigiswald Kuijken, Baroque violin, and then he started to try different instruments of da Spalla, different Violoncello da Spalla. And when we had lessons with him, he plays always the Violoncello da Spalla, and it was very, very impressive. And then I started to try his instruments at first. And then at first it was a little bit strange, and because, but later I was so very, very interested, because that offers a lot of possibilities, for a violinist or viola player, to play the bass, to play another repertoire. And then I go to Dmitry Badyarov, and I asked to him to make for me one instrument. And then I wait 1 year, something like that, and then I had the instrument, and then it was at first I was surprised that I had a very fast, I advanced very fast, and I was very, the strings in this time were not the same as now. Now we have very good strings. In this time, the strings were a little bit harder, not so good.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1 year, I started to. I did the master in Baroque violin, and then after I did the master in viola and Violoncello da Spalla with Sigiswald. And then in 1 year, I was able to play the cello suites from Bach, sonatas for violoncello from Vivaldi, from Bononcini, and then I did my master degree playing Bach suites in G major, and in other recital I play viola, classic concerto, and another repertoire from viola. And then in 1 year I did that, and it was very, very interesting. And then I played also with La Petite Bande in some productions, playing the cello da Spalla, the viola, and that was that. And then after that I moved to Spain, and I did a lot of other things. I play here also, but with historical ensembles, specialized in.
How were you welcomed in Spain with this new movement? Was there interest or?
Yes, because I was fortunate, because I had a colleague who studied Baroque violin with Sigiswald, who were a Spanian colleague who lives now in Madrid, and she was interested that I played with them. They were playing music from 17th century, from Castello, Fontana, and kind of that music. And they called me to play with them, and in several concerts, playing the bass, playing the parts of fagotto, and that matched very well in this instrument. And they were amazed that the sound of the instrument and the quality of the virtuoso passages were best than in the big cello. So they were very, very happy. And then in the concerts, I played with them in these ensemble pieces from Castello, Fontana, etc. And then I played a solo piece, was Gabrieli Sonata, the second version of this G major sonata, that is more adequate for da Spalla instruments. And it was really the public was really, wow, pretty amazed with that. And yeah, because it was in 2012, these concerts. And then in this moment here in Spain was almost no, this is new instrument, no?
It looks like a wonderful experience. And I'm curious about one thing. While you were having your master with Sigiswald, did you study a lot of solo repertoire for the cello da Spalla, or did you also have lessons on how to play bass on Violoncello da Spalla?
We focus mostly in solo pieces, as Vivaldi sonatas, for the 6 sonatas for violoncello, Bononcini, Bach suites, of course. And then we did some orchestra projects from music from Bach, in which I played the bass part and the solo parts of some cantatas. And yes,
Wonderful.
it was really a great experience to do that with Sigiswald. Really, I learned a lot. It was musically incredibly, and then played also with the petit band. It was great. I had a lot of chance. Yes.
Well, this was meant to be my last question of the interview, but it seems appropriate now. And how is today panorama of Violoncello da Spalla in Spain? Is there more people playing it, or do you get more interest? Do you have students asking you to teach them?
Yes, now in this moment there are some people that are interested, that have instruments, da Spalla instruments, but there are a few only. We are 3 or 4 only that I know, that I am aware of that.
Use it also when you give lessons to play the bass with your students?
Yes, but my Baroque violin students, I play the bass in the da Spalla, and it's really great. It's very helpful, and it's beautiful, because you can really, it's not the same playing in a harpsichord or in a, it's different. You can really help more the student to get in the string, to get in the harmony with the technique, and it's very inspiring also for the students. It's really great, and yes.
Sounds wonderful.
And then now I am doing concerts with an ensemble that is dance and music ensemble, who recreate the music and the way with the original dances from this time, from 17th century, 18th century, in Barcelona. Music in Barcelona from this time, and with the dance, and with all the costumes and everything. And I am playing in tenor register. I play sometimes bass when it's required for reinforcing basses, and mostly the tenor range part. As the vocal 4 parts, bass, tenor, contralto and soprano. I take the role of tenor and soprano or contralt or bass, and I switch with the violin when it's required to play the melody or the second voice that is high. I play the violin the same presentation, because it's like a spectacle. Now it's with dance, with the costumes, and everything's very well musicologic studied. Yes, very, and I'm very happy. We have a concert this Sunday with them, and with the dancers and with the costumes, and I switch from the cello da Spalla to violin in each piece almost. So we'll be very no.
So you are now doing a doctorate research on the Violoncello da Spalla in Spain. And well, first, I want to ask you, how was your idea welcomed by the faculties? Did they like the idea of research on Violoncello da Spalla, or yes?
Yeah, I was at first. I was a bit wow. I don't know if I can do, But when I proposed to my mentor, he was really, oh, that's very interesting.
Great.
And then because there was a doctorate student in this moment who is a cello player, normal cello player, who was doing his main research field in the violin instruments, because in Spain all the family violin instruments were named violon.
Mm-hmm.
The soprano, violins, cellos, viols, everything. And then he was doing researching about that. And then he mentioned the Violoncello da Spalla in one chapter. And then he found a repertoire that can be linked to this instrument, but he didn't find really a lot of instruments of this size. Mm-hmm. Only two, as me here in Spain, one in Catalonia and one in Madrid, that have more or less the same sizes. And but the instrument in Barcelona, I'm not sure it's from 18th century, maybe from 19th century. I should do a dendrochronologic study to be sure, But it's a bit complicated.
Excuse me, where are you from exactly? From Spain or Catalonia?
My thesis is focused in Catalonia.
Okay, and do you live in Catalonia?
I live in Barcelona, yes.
Live in Barcelona. Okay. And so, what did you find about repertoire, or are you mainly concentrated on history or on repertoire?
I am mainly concentrated in repertoire. So I am, but the problem is that here in Catalonia and in Spain, mostly in Catalonia, we have not a court life that led a musical, that give money for music, It's mostly ecclesiastic music, because yes, was the principal. Yes. So I'm now we have mostly the archives, musical archives from the cathedrals. I have 5 archives from Barcelona, from Tarragona, from all of Catalonia. There are thousands of musical documents. It's enormous. And you have with specific criteria, choose the repertoire. And my principal criteria is the music who have a voice of violin script, and also the range, and the type of writing, and yes.
And how do you? Which are the things that tell you, okay, this could be a da Spalla repertoire, or you just mention all the tenor repertoire? Is there a specific?
Yes, it's a bit complicated because we have not surviving instruments, so we cannot assure that it was really for this instrument. But from the repertoire, you can look that there are this voice of violin that is always in the tenor range when it's played soloist, and the same instrument comes at the bass, joining the bass, the continuum, the basso continuo, and then switch to the tenor or contralto range when it's a solo for this instrument, violin solo, for instance. And it's always an obbligato form. There are soloist singers with religious music,
Mm-hmm.
Classic music, and then this instrument is doing the obbligato part in a very specific range of tenor, and then after that he comes to the bass, and then and I am analyzing how you can play better with the Spalla instruments with this range, with this size, better than
4 or 5 strings, 4 or 5.
I think 5, because there's a very large range, you know, comes sometimes from the low C to the very high B, you know, 5B, very, but you know, sometimes you have not all the notes, you know, you have only tenor range, and it arrives only to the G string, low G strings. So sometimes can be a tenor, but I think that's not determinating for that. I think it was really a big range instrument of 5 strings.
And how do you think it was? I mean, the Spalla or vertically played, always a Spalla, or depending on the musician?
I think depending on the musician, I think, and I am suspecting that there were parts that could be played or the Spalla or in this way, depending the musicians were available at this moment.
And which years exactly are you focused? Which is the period?
The period is the ending of 17th century and until 1765. So from this period, and I'm focusing in some composers and who write for this instrument specifically in his vocal music.
Could you mention some of them?
We have Francesc Valls. We have Antoni Milà i Godallol. We have Jaume Casellas. Yes, we have some like this. And then they write mostly ecclesiastic music, and for singers, for choir, for soloist, and a lot of their music have this violin part.
Great. And did you find any iconography relevant?
Yes, there are a lot of iconography, but it's mostly popular art, you know, from, you know, you have these titles, you know, in Spanish is azulejo.
Yes.
And you have a recurrent figure of a man playing a big instrument, you know, on the right shoulder with 4 strings. And it's a bit, it's not really, the shape is a bit strange, and the strings are really not, you know, but the image, you know, is very
clear.
And this image is repeated over the centuries. You have from late 17th this image, and then you have from 18th century and even from 19th century. So it was copied. Maybe the artists were copying a model, and but the fact that they were doing this kind of titles is that they have in mind that they saw this instrument playing in the streets, in the processions, or in the church, and they were reproducing something they have in their mind and in the collective mind of the people, no? So they want to represent. It's not a very exact representation, but that can help to justify, you know, that they were these kind of instruments in this period. And also the influence of the Italian musicians coming in Barcelona, in 70s, in 18th century, beginning of 18th century, from 17 to 1730. There are a lot of a cappella of musicians coming here from Italy. And then they played music from Caldara, who we know played at San Marco, no, da Spalla. And also Bononcini comes here sometimes also. So we can use this link to know that it's probably that this instrument was played here.
And do you think it survived in like popular music even after the 18th century, or it just disappeared?
I think it was a slow disappear, but I didn't see in popular music from now these instruments. You know, there are some violinists, popular violinists playing popular music from the region who play with a chord here, the violin, like this, like the Hungarian playing the viola, you know, like this. But the lower bass instruments, no, I didn't see. Mm. So I think slowly were disappearing, and as was the case, no, in other countries.
Yes, but this is really interesting. I mean, it seems that in Catalonia, the cello da Spalla scene was as lively as it was in Italy or in Bach's region.
Of course, and then we have also the link to the strings, that is your specialty. so we have documents from this time, from 18th century, first half of 18th century, that testify that there were some bounded technique, from silver bounded technique on the lower strings. So really? It's very interesting. I am transcribing this instrument, these documents, because can be really fundamental to support this.
You can play it also with the single wound string, but of course it gets dull on the lowest strings. But it's easier to play. It's more resonant if you have a.
I am trying now with the strings.
Yes, it has a voice more like bassoon, while with single wound string it's more like double bass.
Yes.
It seems it's a voice on its own anyway. What do you think? So you are trying single wound now?
Yes. I'm trying, and I am really surprised. I didn't think that was possible, but that can very, very important for my theme of my thesis, because it's a very important argument, no? Support that there were small instruments that played, no, da Spalla. And
yes, and about the document, the string document that you found, is it a Spanish document?
Yes, from Catalonia, from the cofradías, from string makers from Catalonia. There are a big document from manuscripts from 1592 to 19th century, and there are manuscripts from all, and it's very interesting to
read. String makers, winding strings, or luthiers?
String makers, because there were an organization there was a very strict organization about here in Catalonia, that was very strict. The gremios, gremios of viola makers. There was like this, viola makers, string makers, and each one has her rules and it was very strict in Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go outside Barcelona, that was more flexible. So you have at Mataró, for instance, that is 1 hour from Barcelona, you have another rules more flexible. So you have sometimes luthiers making strings, and it was not a problem. But in Barcelona, that could be a problem, that a luthier doing strings, because no, it's not your métier. No, you can't do it. So, but it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward your publishing, the publishing of your doctorate. Yes. How long did it take?
I think I am at half. So still, I am doing a lot of other things. So I have not the time to be really like this. So I think in 2 years.
Right.
Will be. Yes.
2 years is a best.
You know, I am doing. Yes, it's amazing that all the information we have with the musical archives, with the documentation in the manuscripts, and yes.
But it needs the right person in the right moment to find those things, because I mean, you are Spanish and you are from there, and you studied with Sigiswald, so you can really understand exactly what you are looking for. I mean,
yes.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes.
It's really great, fantastic, really.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. It's nice.
Well, that's it then. Thank you again for your time, but really,
thanks to you. It's a pleasure.